Hello, so in this video I wanted to talk about the way in which certain films have really inspired us through their characterization, the visual style, and the way that each element from different films have shaped our opening as a whole. So our first inspiration comes from the film American Psycho. And what we really like about this opening is the way that Patrick Bateman's OCD personality is shown through the setting. So for example, the white walls and the organised layout really show this obsessive-compulsive personality, and as an audience we wouldn't expect him to be a serial killer. So our next inspiration comes from the film Stranger Than Fiction, and what we really love about the scene is the way that motion tracking is used to follow each of his movements. This is probably the most influential film out of them all because the motion tracking in our film really shapes our narrative.
38 times back and forth, 38 times up and down. Every weekday for 12 years.
And I even remember watching this film for the very first time and being completely amazed by the graphics which were used, and so for us to incorporate this into our own sequence was really important. We thought that the visual style created more depth and also more depth to the narrative. The title sequence in To Kill a Mockingbird was really influential in terms of the way they display their titles, and what we really like about this is how they do it so simply without overcomplicating everything. Even though this was made in 1962, I still think that this way of displaying the titles can work even to this present day. And I really love how they complement the music as well. Without, because we had motion tracking and we had all this stuff going on with the visual style, we didn't want to overcomplicate the titles as well, because we thought that it would be too much going on. So by having simple titles and adding this new element into motion tracking, it kind of combined the old and the new together. This video by Motion Design Community really inspired us through the way that they display their titles. So as you can see that the titles look like they're integrated within the video, and that's something which we wanted to reflect into our own opener sequence. Our music inspiration came from many different places, but in particular the scene from Amelie really stood out to us. What I love is how the piano soundtrack complements the scene so well, and it almost doesn't disrupt you from the content of the scene, which is what we didn't want to include into our sequence. We really wanted a music piece which would complement the content as well as add to it. Finally, the movie Her has really inspired our characterization, and I found myself speaking about this film a lot because there's many similarities between the character of Theodore and the character of Derek Miller from our own opening. They're both introverted and quite lonely, and the people who have a past, and this scene is further on into the movie where I think it symbolises him finding the happiness again, which we wanted to kind of hint with the idea of the letter at the end. That he might realise that life's too short and that, he's been living with this OCD restriction all his life. Maybe this bad news will change his ways and he is able to experience new things as the film progresses.